Okay, so we hit our break?
Yeah,
Yep.
so that's the visualization and data wrangling. We're going to come back with the predictive and streaming.
Cool. Well, very interested in that. All right, folks on the phone, I'm going to give you one quick chance to ask or comment about what you've seen, and then we're going to go on a break, or in the room. I can't see behind me. Any comments or questions about what you've seen? Going once. Going twice.
This is Joseph.
Hey, Joseph, Joy D, go ahead.
You mentioned that this can scale up, it's reusable. How do you provide data lineage, and are there any collaborative features in this where people can comment or reuse? And also, when you're going through the workflow or in the initial data wrangling process, can you unwind or back up a process step by step, or even jump to a previous point, so that you can see how your data wrangling is impacting the final visualization?
Yeah, so two great questions. So I'll answer the second one first, and then I'll forget the first one. That's my typical behavior. So absolutely, you can undo infinitely in Spotfire. So you can go, you can just hit Control Z and go back, go back, go back. And you asked about editing the workflow, and we have, I would say, sort of 2/3 support for that today. We're rolling that out incrementally. So for example, I didn't show you connecting to a database or connecting to a data source, but that connection itself will show up in that workflow, and you can go back and edit not necessarily all of them, but most of our data connections you can go back and edit. Many of the transformations that are available you can go back and edit. It's not 100% today. You can imagine it's a little bit of a sophisticated challenge. So, but we have aspirations to complete that journey here sometime soon. So to be able to edit, a number of them you can edit now, but not all of them sometime soon. So now, what was that first question again? Data lineage, that's what it was. Yeah. So and collaboration. Yes. Yeah, so I didn't show you that, but we do have fully featured threaded discussions that are searchable, and those discussions and workflow can be embedded in that. If you decide that this application is going to be dedicated to data wrangling, I mean, it's sort of a semantic argument at this point, but I might say, let's the three of us work together on creating this data pipeline, and I can have a threaded discussion at the level of individual visualizations. And I can search those discussions, find out who's been commenting about which kinds of transformations. So absolutely, that whole thing is supported there. With respect to data lineage, that's a little bit of a more complicated problem. I mean, the data lineage is stored in that data prep object. But because we have so many different ways to get access to data, I can't say that we have sort of universal data lineage. If I drag and drop from an Excel sheet, for example, I'm going to know that it came from an Excel sheet, but I'm not going to keep track of somebody's file path or whatever. And we have federated data access with data virtualization layers, and we keep track of that in detail in that kind of scenario, but there are other more casual scenarios where we don't have all that information. So mostly yes, I would say, with some exceptions.
Okay, real quick, we got a question from Musafer as well. One of them you answered: is there any rollback mechanism for logging? I don't know if that's different from just hitting the back and back button. But his other question, I think, is a short yes or no. Is there any plan to have data wrangling over the web?
Well, I just showed you data wrangling over the web.
So the answer is yes.
That was the web tool. It wasn't obvious because it looks a lot like the desktop tool, but that was running 100% in the browser. With respect to logging, we used to have, and actually you can probably still find it, there's a long kind of list of transactions, but we more or less have, hidden that. You can get to it, I think, but we've basically hidden that in favor of the workflow style of display of those transactions, because it's a lot easier to navigate and understand it. But I think that log is still there if you wanted to get access to it.
All right.